Hello everyone, welcome to day I think 16, 15, 17, I don't know, of processing. Today we're going to be working on file editing and any other future applications of processing. So this isn't my example that I created is not very good because I didn't really know what a useful application of file editing was at the moment. But if you do find a use for it, and I did find a use for it in some random hobbies of mine, this could really help. So again, we're gonna be editing a text file, right? And I have a list of like random grocery items, or not random grocery items, or random foods. I think that start with the letter B or C, and I'm basically gonna edit that file and create a new file that has those foods but edited. And so if you guys were gonna create an application of some sorts that I guess uh, can is supposed to edit text in some way or form, we will go and I will help you go into how to edit that more efficiently using code. So again, let's just define some variables real quick. So because it's a list of strings, right? Strings of the name of foods I'm gonna eat. I'm gonna say foods. I'm gonna create a new string foods list, right? And we're gonna create a reader, all right, that will read through this and it'll help us do stuff with it, I guess. And then string, we're gonna create one more string edited list, right? Now let's go ahead and create our void setup and void draw function, how we're so used to. Uh, actually, so I said that every program needs a setup and a draw function. However, that is not exactly true. A setup function is again the first thing that runs when you start your code. Uh, and the repeats over and over again. If I want this to only run once, and this is the case that we're going to be using, we only want it to run once. We actually we don't need another file, I guess. Yeah, we don't need another. Yeah, what am I saying anymore? So, how are we going to do this? Okay, sorry. Yeah, we're only gonna have it run once, so we're gonna have a setup function, right? Again, the first thing that runs. Now there's now we exact okay. Now this we have our setup function here, and it's the first thing that runs. And I'll have you know this looks very similar to just a regular Java file. And you can do all of this stuff that I'm about to show you in a Java file, and relatively easily. But I guess because I'm so used to using processing now, and I hope you guys are too, I'll show you guys how to use processing to do it. And again, processing is a wrapper. It not like a like a musical wrapper. I mean, it wraps around Java. It takes Java and gives you easier functions to use. And the function we're going to use today is called load strings. Load strings takes a file on your computer somewhere, and it it gives you an object that's a list of strings, exactly like how our foods variable is. So we're gonna instead of me blabbering on, let's just use it. Foods will equal load strings. Now I'm gonna put inside of this okay, basically put the file name, all right? I'm gonna call it food. Yeah, foods.txt. Simple. And I'm gonna save this, right? I'm gonna save this inside of a folder called food food list. All right, food list. All right. Now, if we look into our directory, right? Our directory as in folder, right? Oh, that's not the right thing. Now, if we look inside of our food list folder or directory, we're gonna create a new folder, right? Just create a new folder. You can right click and then create new and then folder. We're gonna call it data, and inside of this data class, we're gonna create a new text file called food. I think food or foods. Foods. Oh man, I named it wrong. Okay, foods.txt. And once you open this, you can put in whatever you want. Again, I'm just saving a bunch of foods that start with the letter B. Now let's go back to our code. And all we have to do now, it actually stored in a list of the foods. And why is it a list? It's because it takes every space, right? Every time you press enter, every return, every new line as a new string. So every line inside of your file, your text file, is a new string. And all those are stored. Now, what do I want to output? I want to output a new file, right? A new text file that has an edited version of all these. How do we do that? There's an object, a class in processing called printWriter. So printWriter, let's writer, if I could spell, we're going to call it output. It lets us write stuff to a new file. So let's just say output equals create writer. And again, just like load image, there's a specific constructor function that builds us a new print writer. And a print writer, again, I didn't explain it well. It's just an object that helps us create and write to a text file. So create writer, we're gonna now create writer. The only parameter or input or argument or variable we put inside, all those are the same thing, is the name of the file we want to create. Let's just call it output.txt. So let's create a counter variable. And the reason I'm creating a counter variable is because I'm going, hold on. Okay, I do not need, now that we've created our create writer or our print writer, we're gonna loop through it. Now we're gonna because our okay, now we're gonna loop through it. Int I equals 0, I is less than foods dot length, I plus plus. Basically loop through all the values. How do you put stuff inside of this new file? Because output create writer created a new text file called output.txt. How do you put stuff inside? Just like how you did system.out.println, instead of writing system.out, you're gonna write the name of the variable name of your print writer. So output.println, right? We're printing stuff instead of to the console, we're printing it to a file. What do we want to say? We want, I guess we can just say foods of I plus, wait, okay. We could say I want to eat space plus foods of I. And again, why do we use println? It's because it enters a new line. It prints it to a new line so that it doesn't get all of our strings don't just get stacked up next to each other. Sorry. Okay. Now, before we finish, right? I mean, we created a loop right there to just print out what we wanted to edit it. Now, obviously, you're not creating some random grocery list using this, and you can find your own applications to what kind of text you want to output. But this is just an example of showing you how it's done. So now, before we finish, we have to write in output.flush. This just says, hey, I'm done with the file. Not output. Hey, I'm done with the file, and output.close. When we say output.flush and output.close, we're saying, hey, I don't want to work with this file anymore. Just close it and make sure and save the file, basically. And then you say println done. Now the reason I have this is it tells me, it tells to my console down here, hey, I'm done editing this file. So that's basically it. Now if you run this, let's see if it works, if I missed anything. You'll see a little window pop up if you're running this, and you'll see in the console, done. That means if you go back to the directory or the file, you'll notice that if you go back to here, you have an output.txt file. And if you open it up, you can't see it, but basically it turned my list of just foods into a list of my new edited text. So that's how you edit text using using processing. You load it in using load strings, then you create a writer to a new a print writer, right? Using the create writer function to a new file name such as output.txt, and then you print to that file whatever you want, how you want to edit what kind of inputs you got from the previous file. Again, you don't need the draw function; it only runs once. And at the end, you say println some kind of message to yourself saying, "Hey, my program finished running." Just to tell yourself when the program's done. So that was kind of a short, convoluted, random lesson. The applications are really up to you. What do you want to do with this? One time I took a file containing a bunch of authors and books names, and I used processing to edit all of those and turn it into a format that Quizlet, a very, very famous website and application, that I basically edited it and formatted it into a way that Quizlet could take all those and turn it into a Quizlet set. So that's the kind of application I'm talking about. How do you want to turn this whatever data you have into whatever data you want, or whatever data format you want it to be, so that you can either upload it to something else or print it a certain way? Yeah, that's really up to you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and that was basically the last video of this series. Maybe I might do something else. Who knows? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.